But I'm going to introduce our guest, and he is ready live for us already. Saeed Zulfikar Bukhari, who is the chairman of Pakistan Tourism and Minister of State. He's also a special advisor to Prime Minister Imran Khan. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to welcome our very special guest. Great to speak to you. Hello from Istanbul. I just want to test your sound. Can you hear us?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great.
Fantastic. Right. Saeed, my first question to you is, the US travel magazine Condé Nast listed Pakistan as a top destination for 2020. Why?
I think primarily because of it's the first time that the diversity in Pakistan has been shown and been understood by anyone outside of Pakistan. Previously, unfortunately, no one understood the beauty and the diversity in the beauty in Pakistan, in the national landscapes, in ecotourism, in wildlife, and most of all, its hospitality.
So no one understood.
I think
why is that? Why wasn't it understood? I'll be honest, I was surprised. I've traveled a lot. I was surprised by this quote from Condé Nast. Why? I guess my question is, why doesn't the world know about this potential that you're talking about, this beauty that you're talking about?
It's a very good question, and the problem with this question, was that unfortunately in the last decade or so, Pakistan is in the headlines for all the reasons. You know, we recently had an international dignitary over, and he termed it as, you know, from terrorism to tourism is where Pakistan's come to. And in the last decade or so, unfortunately, with this unfortunate war on terror, Pakistan was one of the biggest victims of it, and we were engaged in this war on terror, and which brought about, you know, local terrorism, international terrorism into the country. And then to come out of that spiral, that downward spiral, took quite a while. And now 2019, I'll just let you know, also is also the safest year in Pakistan in the last 10 years. And, you know, terrorism is basically finished in Pakistan. We overcame it. Thanks to our armed forces. And then the Prime Minister Imran Khan and his cabinet came into power 2 years ago. And the Prime Minister himself, and this is why I think Condé Nast, British Backpackers Association, FT, and a few others had started writing about tourism, is because he is actually the only Prime Minister that has actually covered his entire around all over the Pakistani. And when we took over, he remained as the tourism minister himself until he handed it over for me to run. So he projected it nationally and internationally and gave it that international and national relevance. It's all about significance. Whichever premier or leadership, whichever department or sector of their government they pick up, that's what finds relevance. And tourism is probably right up there with this regime.
Examples, some evidence, examples that your government has undertaken in the past few months. I know it has been very challenging for every country, but examples, concrete ones, to show that Pakistan is serious about promoting international tourism.
Sure. So I lost the first bit, what you were saying. I didn't hear it, but if you're asking for examples of what Pakistan, the government has done since our short tenure so far, I'll just take a minute or two and run through this. First and foremost, we've created a brand identity for the first time in tourism. So like you have, for example, Incredible India, or Best in Asia, Malaysia, Visit Dubai, so on and so forth. We've actually come out with a brand Pakistan, which we were going to launch on April 18th. But due to COVID-19, we've delayed that, a big, strong launch for this holistic brand of tourism in Pakistan. So everyone will know that Pakistan has taken ownership over tourism. The first thing we did in the first 3 months of our government is that we simplified, first of all, our visa regimes. Our visa regime was so stringent that it's very difficult for foreigners and Pakistanis living abroad to come back if they only have a single passport of another country. So we simplified that. We're trying to get us close. We've given around 8 countries online on arrival visas. We've given around 120 countries online visas, and 5 countries visa on arrival. And we're still now even streamlining that further as well. So it's a much easier process, which really opens up the doors. We've done things like British Airways has come back into Pakistan over a decade. And, British Airways is a very conservative airline. So clearly they saw that now it's safe again. When things got bad in Pakistan, they pulled out. Now they've come back in. Virgin Airways is starting again. Numbers of flights from other connectors, other airlines have all increased. We allowed foreigners to go. We got first, a foreigner would require an NOC, a permit, to leave one city and go to another. We abolished that rule. Now they can roam around freely anywhere they want in the country. Along with that, we really set rules and regulations in the various provinces across the country. So we've created a national tourism board that I'm the chairman of. There was no board before us. So it was a devolved subject into provinces, and every province was just doing its own thing and not taking it seriously. That's why the Prime Minister formed this board, made myself the chairman of it. And now we start giving policies. We've created a 10-year policy for tourism for the first time in Pakistan. We created a 5-year action plan to implement that policy. And then now we're creating these authorities in each and every province, whereby we are creating areas and zones. We're calling them ITZs, integrated tourism zones. So you'll have X amount of acres or kilometers in a zone. We've created 5 in each province.
If I could just jump in and excuse me for interrupting, you've given a fantastic list here. Of course, visas, international airlines coming back, 10-year policies, but I'm not hearing the word safety. I think, I would love to go to Pakistan, but my biggest concern would be safety. And as you mentioned before, from terrorism to tourism, that does stick in my head, and I'm sure for many people. So with regards to safety, what are you doing to make it, for example, someone like me, as soon as we can travel, I would love to go and see. One of your friends is here, actually, who showed me the beautiful northern areas of Pakistan. I would love to go there. But how safe will it be?
Well, look, the thing is that Pakistan's really turned a new page. And not now, it turned it quite a while ago. But like you said, the perception is still stuck in 2008 and 2009. But Pakistan is far safer than a lot of the biggest tourist attracted countries across the globe. It's far safer than going to Cancun or Mexico, especially in these northern areas which you're mentioning. So we've never had a problem recently or in the last decade over it. So, the problem is that Pakistan's safety is far safer. You take central London at the moment. You're having problems, leaving a restaurant at 10 o'clock at night and not getting stabbed or mugged. In Pakistan, you don't have such issues. You're far safer. So the perception comes with how you brand it. And that's when I say we made brand Pakistan, is so that people start seeing the branding of it. And I must
I know
clarify.
it's been delayed. How are you going to brand Pakistan? Can you reveal that to us?
I can't tell you what the name is yet, because that's the big launch.
A huge audience here. I think we're on half a million people.
Well, look, the great thing about the brand, and I can't wait because we're going to be hopefully hosting, God willing, the Global Tourism Forum in 2021 in Pakistan. We're hosting the 2021 D8 Summit as well for the first time in Pakistan. So all these things are coming. I had we've had unlimited international investment. But I just want to clarify something. It took Thailand, Turkey, Marrakesh a lot of years to become a known international destination. You must not underestimate the power of local tourism in Pakistan. We're 220 million population, 65% of it under the age of 35. A lot of them may not have, we don't have as many sports, recreation, and so on, so things. So tourism, visiting places, going to the mountains, going to the desert, to the beach, plays a far bigger role. We have a 10 million diaspora outside of Pakistan that has disposable income that can spend. So, as much as we want international tourism, Pakistan's capable enough for its industry to completely rise to the top by just its local tourism and its international diaspora. And with that, like today, we had the singer Cher over in Pakistan, So, and again, she said similar things to say that she's shocked how safe it is, how peaceful it is, relaxed it is.
And just a question, as a journalist, I'm an international newsreader at Turkey's 24-hour news channel, TRT World, and there almost isn't a week that we don't talk about Afghanistan and the violence there. How much does the continuing, let's say, even spike in violence in a neighboring country affect your tourism and your branding?
Look, there's no doubt that a peaceful and stable Pakistan would reap the benefits of it. And when you have any neighbor from any part of the world, and it's in a troubled area, and where you can say, we have Iran, we have Afghanistan, we have China. So obviously, a peacefulness helps us a lot. But at the end of the day, this is the first time that our government has been involved in the peace process with the Qatari government and the American, and Afghanistan is finally going on to the right path towards peace and stability. When that happens, there's often cases where there are spoilers that don't want this peace process to have. Afghanistan, unfortunately, is going through that transition from going on to that peace process, which obviously deeply disturbs us. But if you look at that spillover effect of what you're asking in Pakistan, especially in the last 3 years, you haven't seen, if any, not much of it, if any, in Pakistan, touch wood.
Right now, listening to you, I want you to do, first of all, sell us Pakistan. I read that Pakistan has more peaks taller than 22,965 feet, taller than China and Nepal. Perfect for travelers and adventurers. Give us some examples. Sell us Pakistan.
Well, look, it has out of the 10 highest peaks in the world, Pakistan has 6 of them. We've got mountain ranges, which, a lot of country has diversity, but they don't have the diversity at this magnitude. We've got from, red clay mountains to snowy mountains for skiing. We've got heavy green plantation mountains with tropical plantation above 7,000 meters, which you find nowhere in the world. We've got wildlife, which only exists in Pakistan, from snow leopards to blue sheep to the most exotic pheasants of it. We've got around a 280 kilometer light blue turquoise coastal belt. We've got some of the most phenomenal deserts. We've got religious, archaeological, historical tourism from, let it be, if you're from the Sikh religion. We're a Muslim country with the most amount of churches, more than any other Muslim country in the world, Hindu temples, and most of all, the most beautiful Buddhist trail starting from the north of Pakistan, going all the way up to Azad Kashmir. So the diversity, and then, of course, the food, the cuisine, and the hospitality of the people. And just coming back, the amount of international bloggers we've had in Pakistan in the last 18 months is probably more than any other country. And you mentioned about yourself. We had a young lady also who motorcycled, a blogger. I'm just forgetting her name at the moment. She motorcycled from one end to Pakistan to the other, all by herself on a motorbike. And she backpacked, stayed out, wherever she wanted to. And she was shocked on how safe it was.
Very well, Saeed. So tell us your message for investors who are listening right now.
My message for the investors is this. Pakistan's jumped up a record-breaking 28 points in ease of doing business. We have an extremely powerful diaspora. We've got an extremely powerful business community within Pakistan. It's one of the very few countries that you can build hotels and hospitality and be in the hospitality sector and look at a return on investment between 3 to 5 years. Not many countries can do that. We've got around 25 3 to 5 star hotels coming up in the next 24 months in 2 years. And the buzz around tourism in Pakistan at the moment is unparalleled. Many other countries that's going to have 25 to 30 hotels coming up. Even with this pandemic, with the crisis coming up, Pakistan's it fought better with the pandemic than most countries, if not one of the best, in terms of being affected by COVID and our economic recovery. So at the moment, for business wise, especially in the hospitality sector, tourism sector, Pakistan is going to be unparalleled, especially when these integrated tourism zones are created, because you will be in a safeguarded zone with tourist police, with the most well-planned town planning. So it's, we're trying to keep it as holistic as possible so that international investors are completely safeguarded, regardless of which regime is in a power or not.
Pakistan's relationship with the Global Tourism Forum.
So I missed your question there.
Yes, how important is Pakistan's relationship with the Global Tourism Forum?
Well, it's extremely important. He's like a brother, Baji. So, and Sumaira who's the CEO. So both the CEO and chairman are in touch with us all the time. In fact, the CEO was even at the very beginning when the board was made. She was a consultant and on the board with us as well. So we're looking to, do a really, really big launch in 2021. And obviously the partnership that we will have with them is second to none. And it's extremely important to what you talked about at the beginning, to spread the word, to help us market, to show Pakistan for what it really is today and for what it really stands for. We need organizations like the Global Tourism Forum and others for them to sort of reveal Pakistan where it stands today and sort of try to get rid of and shed that, that 10-year-old rhetoric.
And what are your priorities right now? I know you mentioned great examples, initiatives, the visas, Virgin, BA coming back, 10-year policies, but your priorities during this challenging time for absolutely every country.
First of all, we're one of the first countries to come up with international standard SOPs as soon as Corona hit. But in terms of what we've been doing and what we're continuing to do, we haven't closed tourism down in Pakistan. It's open with these SOPs. But if there's a silver lining, let's say, in this COVID period, is that has given me a lot of chance to work on infrastructure, to sort out, get the fundings organized from the government for road development, and to start creating new spots. We're coming up with around 40 new spots from the vast diversity that we have, from mountains to coastal to desert across the country, so that there's more and more attractions. And for each province, so we've got around 4 provinces and 2, which I consider as provinces as well. So let's say 6. Every single one of them is giving us 10 new destinations. So that's 60 new destinations in Pakistan. And I'm not just talking one small destination. I'm talking an entire area, a mapped out zone. So we have 60 new zones that are coming into play very soon in the next 6 months. World Bank is doing their feasibility. So what it's done for me is really study for the first time in Pakistan the complete data that's available.
And you mentioned infrastructure. Does that mean building roads to make it easier to get to some of these beautiful places that are, quite off the beaten track and take maybe hours to get to?
Absolutely. One of the biggest problems was having good roads to get there. And like I said, these zones, it's all integrated, meaning that you're working on a sewage system, you're working on the roads to get there, you're working on the environment, everything comes hand, electricity, gas, so on and so forth. That all comes into this integrated zones. So yes, it's allowed us to study which areas we're picking out and then building the network for that area. Along with the air network, we've eased out a lot of civil aviation things so people can bring their private jets. There can be more private local airlines for domestic networking. So all these things have now started to become streamlined. And we're seeing the result of it. We had around 50 million people's local tourism, in 2019. It's a huge number, 50 million local tourists.
And how is that managed? As you say, you're a country of 220 million people. Domestic tourism is so important. Give us some examples of what domestic tourism looks like.
Well, the Prime Minister, one time we went away to this particular hill station resort, and we had tweeted a picture. He had tweeted a picture of where he was of the mountains. The following weekend, they had 90,000 people show up at that place. So look, unfortunately, at the beginning, we weren't so well equipped. There aren't enough hotels even, and especially hotels of 3-star and above. So this is why it's like when you said that for international investment, it's so ripe because we are suffering from not having enough. Mostly you suffer from what is your occupancy rate going to be, but we've got people camping and living in cars in our most beautiful areas. So local tourism, it just booms. And what happened this time is that with Corona, after tourism opened after, when COVID sort of subdued in Pakistan a little bit, people wanted to just get out. So we had this outburst of people going into all the tourist attractions and areas and not enough hotels. And because of other restrictions, the high end and the middle class tourism also wanted to travel around the country to see these attractions. So we had people from all walks of life. So that's why we've now put our skates on, and we're trying to work even faster so that at least we can keep the right amount of accommodation for people. It's booming at the moment in Pakistan.
Booming, why?
Well, like I said, because a lot of people aren't traveling abroad, so so your middle and high end tourism is now all of a sudden coming in. B, because people weren't moving around before COVID or during COVID. But even if you look prior to COVID, like I said, what happens is that if I've got to attend a wedding of somebody, I'll travel to the northern areas for the wedding, but I'll take 2 days out and stay and travel that area. So tourism over here is a weekend recreation as well. It's not just I have 21 days or 28 days of holiday per year and I'm going to plan it 7 days are going to be in Pakistan. It's actually every weekend because people can easily get to places and they want to just travel because you don't have the same amount of recreation and other things as you do over here. So people here travel far more within, especially over the weekend, than they do anywhere else. So especially towards the hills, it's just chocker blocked.
Domestically, when could it be safe for international travelers to come to Pakistan?
Look, I think it was safe 2 years ago. And like I said, 2019 has been the safest year in Pakistan's history, at least in the last 10 to 15 years. And we've had more international tourism. We've had Princess Beatrice come over. We've had the Prime Minister of Spain and Italy come over and ski over here. And they said it's the softest snow they've ever experienced. So, we've had unbelievable we've had a lot of celebrities come over. And we want that to trickle down to everybody coming and stuff. We've had the most amount of international bloggers. As far as safety, I can assure you one thing. It's far safer than a lot of other exotic countries that you go to. So, in terms of everything. And like I, gave you the examples of a few, I used to go to, Mexico a lot to I do deep sea diving and stuff. It's far safer here. You worry for your safety at night when you're going out there more than you don't over here. And our biggest problem is getting rid of that misconception. As far as for now, Pakistan's absolutely safe for international tourism. We just need to get the word out.
And with regards, my final question to you, Saeed, with regards to COVID safety, that's one of the things we look for. I'm here in Turkey, fantastic country with COVID safety hotels. We always look for that sticker, that sign. Is it COVID friendly? The COVID safety. Would that exist?
Yes. Like I said, Samara is there. She can share the SOPs that we created and implemented over here. So I just recently traveled to around 3 different cities. I was doing a political campaign, and I was really, really pleased to see how well and how strictly they were abiding by those. And you must remember one thing: Pakistan has dealt with Corona one of the best in the world. So clearly, we're doing something right, where we were the least affected by it, and our economy was the least affected by it. And World Health Organization admitted that Pakistan is probably in the top 3 countries in tackling COVID. So we obviously were doing the right things.
Saeed, Zulfikar, Bukhari, it's been a pleasure to speak to you today here at the Global Tourism Forum. And for our viewers joining us online and those of us who are here in Istanbul, I hope and I know that I have been encouraged very strongly to visit Pakistan. Thank you so much for sharing the potential and explaining just how exciting it would be to come to Pakistan. And we have 2 minutes to go before we leave you. Your final message to the global tourism audience listening to you right now.
Well, I want to appreciate everybody for their time, especially Global Tourism Forum. I want to thank them for this opportunity and yourself. And I look forward to welcoming you here in Pakistan very soon. And most of all, I just want them to say, stay alert, stay aware for Pakistan. In the next 3 to 4 months, you're going to see Pakistan come onto the world tourism map in a big way. And we welcome all of you here in the near future.
And one final personal question. I love running. Are there any half marathons planned in Pakistan or marathons?
We did actually a marathon planned recently, but due to COVID, we had canceled it. So there are some marathons. If you love running, we've got some of the most scenic places for you to come and take a run. So, bring your trainers along.
Fantastic. I look forward to that, as I'm sure so many runners do as well, to see beautiful places and run along amazing landscapes. Once again, Saeed Zulfikar Bukhari, Chairman of Pakistan Tourism and Minister of State, and also Special Advisor to Prime Minister Imran Khan. Thank you so much for joining us live at the Global Tourism Forum here in Istanbul and actually online. Thank you so much for your message and your time.